Alright, hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. I, as always, am Grestar, and this is yet again Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, any percent new game on the PC. As of today, June 5th, when I'm recording this post-commentary, this is the current world record for this particular category for this game. And so, as usual, in case people wanted to watch this in the future and just know more what I had in mind when doing certain things, picking certain options, whatever. If you're interested in running this game yourself, for instance, I wanted to be able to provide a video and some commentary so you can actually tell what's going on. So to start, I'm going to pick a Majin, and specifically a Majin female, and this is because of the transformation requirement in the run, and because the Majin female has an infinite combo. And so between those two, I believe Majin to be the fastest race for an any percent new game speedrun. New game plus is a different story, but for new game, I think that this is the fastest. Another couple things you might have seen when I was first going through that character creation bit, I made myself as short as possible and as bulky as possible. The height determines if you're short, you're faster, I believe, just in terms of like flying speed, and if you're tall, then you have a larger maximum health pool. Whereas if you're thin, you're better at like ki blast attacks, and if you're, thick, then you're better at physical attacks. So because of my playstyle, I make myself as short as possible and as bulky as possible. To touch on, since right now it's just like go through tutorial stuff, nothing really exciting here, I'll touch on something that I said before, and that's the transformation requirement. So at one point in this run, and you'll be able to see the split for it later on, you're required to get your race-specific transformation. So as you might have noticed, there were 5 different races that you could pick to play as in this game. The Majins, like I'm playing here, the Saiyans, the Earthlings, the Namekians, and the Frieza race. And so each race has their own individual unique transformation, and each race transformation has unique requirements. And so for the Majin, what you have to do is just get enough food to feed Majin Buu so that he spawns 3 little Majin Buulings. And then once you do that, once there are 3 of them, you talk to him again, you have to fight Majin Buu, and then Majin Buu along with 3 small Majin Buus, and then you get your transformation. Different races, again, have different requirements. So Saiyans, for instance, you have to fight Vegeta twice in the Capsule Corporation Time Rift, and then you have to fight him and Goku, and then him and Goku again, and then I want to say him and Goku again. It's at least you have to fight them twice, like, within the same battle, but, they basically revive themselves back at full health and, like, in a more powerful form kind of thing, And so things like that. So in general, I think that Saiyan is the second fastest transformation, and then the other ones are just way longer. So that's the main reason that I think that Majin is the fastest race for the new game speedrun. And you can see here the infinite combo that I mentioned. You basically just you spam the heavy attack until you kick them down like that. You tap B to send out a single burst of ki. You do, I think, what's called like a little step dash or something, but you tap left trigger as you tap forward, and then I just immediately connect with another infinite, or another heavy combo, and repeat. So that fight against Raditz is just something that you have to do, It's technically the very first fight of the story, but it's very like tutorial-esque in that manner too. And now we get into another tutorial section. So this part is where we're going to learn basically how to do parallel quests and what that can be like. But before that point, we have to pick a hero. So I've just picked the Earthling male. It's the default, it's at the very top. Basically, at some point in the run, you'll have to fight the hero that you pick, but they seem to have a set amount of like health, ki, and stamina. I think their movesets change, but I don't know if one's necessarily better than the other, so I just go with the default. Switch your vehicle to the DLC vehicle that I have, because currently this game allows DLC to be used. I personally don't like that, but it's one of those things, if you want the most competitive times, you kind of just have to do it. So this vehicle technically cost me like, what, $8 or something? But you have to vehicle over to Elder Kai just because you need to talk to him at some point. I mean, during this section, he's just one of the requirements. I pop over to Capsule Corporation just so I can get to the stairs a little more quickly to go up to the Time Nest. And this is one of the things that you might notice is different. If you've seen previous runs of this, you would have seen me go straight up the stairs, talk to that NPC by Piccolo to get the Senzu Essence Capsule, talk to that little robot to unlock that as like a teleporting spot, and then go do 2 Yamcha training sessions. We would do the initiation, we would ask Yamcha to be our instructor, and then we would do Yamcha's lesson 1, so like the second fight with him. Because if you do a fight with someone who's your instructor, the instructor always has a set position, being in the Patroller Academy, which is where we spoke to Elder Kai. And so, after that second fight with Yamcha, we would automatically just be teleported to that spot. We could talk to Elder Kai, and then teleport away. It'd be fast and easy. But I was trying something different this run. This is the first time I tried this particular thing, but I wanted to switch up how I was getting my TP medals and when I was doing my race-specific transformation. I wanted basically to do my race-specific transformation as quickly, like as early as possible. And so here you'll actually see, like, I've done Yamcha 1 time, and then I'm just gonna leave. So to do that, because I think it's faster than just getting in the vehicle and driving down, I drive up there, talk to that bot, teleport down to the Recreation Plaza, and then go to the shop. So I unequipped my Scouter, and I didn't, and then I sold it and the Senzu Essence Capsule that I got from that NPC by Piccolo, and I'm going to use that money that I got just to level up a few times before going into the Parallel Quest. Because the thing about the Parallel Quest is that it's a set difficulty, it does not scale with you and your level. But you're allowed to bring in 2 allies, and so those allies that you bring in match whatever level you are. So I think I'm going in level 7? 7 or 8 for this one. And so level 7, okay. And so my allies are also going to be level 7. Usually I was bringing in like Vegeta Evolved. This time I decided to try bringing in Bojack. At this point, I don't necessarily love that choice. I'm just kind of, I don't know. I'm just uncertain about it. But I did it for this run, so yeah. And the reasoning behind that is because Bojack seems just more physically powerful in terms of basic attacks. And he has a Super Soul that like gives him an even bigger basic attack boost after a certain amount of time has passed from the beginning of the fight. And so I had assumed that it would be activated by the time we're fighting the 2 Cybermen, which turned out not to be the case. But he still was able to beat them fairly quickly. The issue is when I got to the NPC Time Patrollers, I believe. They seemed to just knock them around a lot more while I was trying to kill them. But yeah. So you'll obviously see this happen later on, but because there's nothing to really talk about with this parallel quest, you just kind of have to do it. It's set, basically. The only thing that's different, I mean, obviously the enemies, you know, they move about completely randomly or whatnot. They have their own AI. But the only thing that's different about the parallel quest here is what NPC time patrollers are going to fight. You're always going to fight 3, but it's a matter of like which ones. So I'm going to jump back to what I said earlier. The big thing that I changed with this particular run was I wanted to switch up how I was getting the TP medals I need and when I was doing my race-specific transformation. And so, yeah, see, one of the Cybermen's already dead. Like, that just happened so fast. So to, first, TP medals. At one point in the run, you're required to have 15 TP medals just in order to progress to the next point in the story. Like, you're not allowed to take on the next story mission until you talk to Elder Kai when you have 15 TP medals. TP medals are basically just like the rarer in-game currency. There's Zenny, which is the common one, and then there's, you know, TP medals, which is the rarer one. Which is also, you know, the one that you can purchase through microtransactions, but obviously you don't do that for the run. How to get TP medals is doing new, like, instructor fights, or parallel quests, or expert missions, things like that. With the parallel quest, you get it just like a TP medal the first time that you beat one, so like when it's a new one. For expert missions, you get it like every time you beat it, etc. And typically you only get 1 TP medal, but it depends on the difficulty. And for the sake of this run, we don't have anything unlocked that would give us multiple, you know? So, yeah. You could basically think of it as, for each TP medal that we need to do 1, like, extra mission. Extra as in it's not part of the story mode, which is, of course, you know, for the any percent category, the timer ends once we've beaten the story mode. So, essentially, we need to beat 5 missions, and then we need to do Yamcha's Turtlestone Hunt, because that has a possibility, notice I say possibility, of giving us 10 TP medals. So 5 missions for 1 TP medal each, and then 10 from Yamcha's Turtlestone Hunt for a total of 15. That is the reason why I fought Yamcha once. First because I got 1 TP medal for fighting him that one time, but then having fought him at least that one time, it unlocks him as a possibility for having his special class, the Turtlestone Hunt. So something really important to do in these runs. If you don't do that, you're in trouble. For the best times, you really need to do the Turtlestone Hunt. That's the fastest way that so far anyone has been able to find in order to get the required TP medals. So you can see here, the fight with Tien and Yamcha, it didn't go the best. It wasn't the worst. I mean, like, the good thing is that I finished the fight by the time the dialogue ended. But of course, there was extra dialogue. Why it's a good thing, like, it's a bad thing that there was extra dialogue. But because there was, at least, even if I'd beaten them early, I would have just been waiting for the dialogue to end anyway. Yeah, so you might have seen too, we got a TP medal from beating that parallel quest. So currently we have 2 TP medals under our belt. We're going to need 3 more, in addition to the 10 from the Turtlestone Hunt. So I'm going to go to the shop, sell the Hercule badges that I just got as a reward for the parallel quest, and then use those to level up a few more times before this upcoming split here. The Saiyan History fights themselves. So now that we've gotten those levels, we need to talk to her just to check off that we've, you know, done everything. We've talked to Elder Kai, we've done the parallel quest. Now I want to talk to the stylist here, and then I want to pop over here, talk to the TP Metal Shop clerk, back out. I want to talk to him again. I jumped the gun a little bit, pop back in my vehicle, so... But when you talk to him a second time, it starts this conversation with Bulma. I don't exactly know why it works. I assume it's just because of her placement right in front of the TP Metal Shop. But then we need to get in our vehicle, pop over, talk to multiplayer modes, man. And the reason we want to talk to these 3 now is because we're already in this area, and so it's just faster to talk to them. Because if we don't talk to them now when it's convenient for us, they will, at a later point in the story, pull us out of the time nest to give us whatever their little spiel was. And so we're just getting it out of the way at a time that works better for us. Now we actually get to go in and do these fights. And the reason that we wanted to purchase those levels, like, obviously purchasing levels makes you stronger. But on the flip side, you know, it also does take time to purchase levels because you can only purchase 1 at a time from Tosak instead of, like, purchasing in bulk for however much Zenny you have. But these 2 fights at the beginning of the Saiyan History split are a little bit unique. There aren't too many fights in this run like this. But if you get their health down to a certain point, about halfway with these 2, Nappa and then the Turles fight after this, you get to skip a good chunk of dialogue. Between the 2 fights, it's about 50 seconds, and it's basically like 20 seconds on the Nappa fight and then 30 seconds on the Turles fight. But you see, Gohan was already saying that presence so strong but familiar. Normally, that would come, again, about 20 seconds later. But because we had Nappa's health down to about half, before Yamcha finished his line, you know, who cares who it is, we got to skip ahead. Normally, it would jump from that to Gohan saying, those eyes, they're bright red. But instead, you'll see him saying it just briefly here, and then he'll cut off the next line. Yeah, so Gohan started to say something else, help, I'm so scared. But we got the dialogue skip, so we get to move on to the next fight. And again, this one's very similar. We need to get Turles down to about half health before Elder Kai finishes saying, in fact, he looks just like Goku. Normally, that would go into Turles saying, "My name is Turles," and it begins this 30-second long monologue, basically. But instead, we're going to have Goku saying, "This guy looks just like me for some reason." Yeah, so with that, we skipped about 30 seconds of dialogue. Another thing that you might see me do, especially early on, is when I'm waiting for dialogue to pass, because that's a big thing in this game. There are just a lot of fights where you can't do anything until a certain amount of dialogue passes. Whether, you know, the enemy's invincible until that point, and then you need to finish the enemy off, or whether the scene will just transition automatically once certain dialogue has passed. But you'll see me, like, I'll fire a bunch of ki blasts, or I'll try to get, like, a 25-hit combo, or I'll try to get 3 grabs in, and that's for the sake of calculating my score. You'll see on the right side of here, on the score screen, there are different, like, titles. There was, like, Ki Blaster and Grappler. And those give me different amounts of points. I don't know how many points they give me, frankly, but they give me different amounts of points. And your score in this game is equivalent to your experience. So the higher score you get, the more experience you get for that fight. So especially early on, when I'm just waiting for dialogue to pass, I'll do extra things to get a higher score, just so I can try to, you know, level up naturally to be a little bit stronger for the upcoming fights. But this fight with Nappa and Vegeta, it's just a matter of how quickly you can beat them. Which again, you know, obviously is helped by how strong you are, so purchasing those levels before coming into this split, it does help. So now we have one more main fight to do, but it's broken up into 3 different sections. We're fighting the Great Apes now, Great Ape Nappa and Great Ape Vegeta. For this very first part, both Nappa and Vegeta are on the map. And you can fight both of them, but you want to untarget Vegeta and just focus on Nappa. Once he's dead, and the scene moves on. So the fastest way that we've found to do this is to use bomb ki blasts. Depending on your race or the Super Soul you have equipped, you have a different effect when you charge your ki blast. And Majin's by default is this bomb ki blast. If you're playing as a different race, like Saiyan for instance, you would want to go into the shop before this and purchase the Super Soul. Like, your power level is 5 scum or whatever it is. But that'll give you the bomb ki blast as well. But just spamming those, it does a really quick job of taking care of the Great Apes, as you can see. And so that's what I'd always recommend. The game will tell you to, like, grab their tail and stuff like that, but I disagree. Yeah. So there's that split. And now is the fun part. This is where the run really changed, like, between this run and my previous personal best. Because we're going to do some things in a different order, and then we're going to do some extra things on top of that. So at this point in the story, Supreme Kai of Time is going to task us with going and visiting the 5 different, like, miniature time rifts. And the reason there are 5 of them is it's 1 for each race in order to unlock your race-specific transformation. They each kind of have their own, like, side missions and things like that. But yeah. So, like, at Majin Buu's house, I have the potential to, you know, unlock my Majin-specific transformation. But if I weren't a Majin, like, I can still do things there, just not to the same extent. Normally, I would immediately go and do the time rifts, but instead, I'm gonna come and talk to Jija first. And again, this is new for me. And so that's why, like, I got out of my vehicle by the transfer shop clerk, because that's just habit. But yeah, Jija hates bitter people, so we do the anguish emote for him, and he freaks out and gives us clothes. So we're gonna take those clothes, drive over to the item shop, sell them all, for a total of 80,000 Zenny. We're gonna buy 3 water while we're here, along with this Super Soul Get Lost Before I Send You Flying. And then we're gonna go over to Tosak and use the rest of that money to level up. So we're just gonna pour the rest of this in. The reason we're getting the Super Soul is because Hatlord recently pointed out to me that I was missing secret tech, which was Limit Burst. Somewhat recently, I honestly don't know when. I don't think it's super new, but somewhat recently in the game's life. Super Souls received the addition of unique Limit Bursts, and Limit Bursts can have a range of different effects. The one that I picked up has a boost to your attack, and like auto key recovery, or key auto recovery, I guess. So basically, it only lasts about 19 seconds of action, but it actually does provide a pretty significant boost to your damage. And so I definitely think it's worth doing. As for why we picked up the water, what we're going to do next will get us more clothing that we can sell for more money, but it wouldn't quite be enough to purchase all of the water that we need. So just to play it a little bit safer, I purchased water ahead of time before I purchased all of those levels, just so I don't accidentally spend too much. But now we're going to go through these time rifts almost as normal. So here, you know, at the Frieza spaceship, we just talk to the dude. Oh, all we're supposed to do is talk to the 5, like, quintuplets, 1 at each place. So we're basically doing them as normal. But we're switching up a little bit in 3 of them. So here we're going to talk to this guy, again, because we have to. But we're going to pop into the Majin Buu's house proper and talk to him. And this is something that I did in my previous best. Because what talking to him does is it spawns the opportunity for like food to appear, or at least more commonly, on the map. But in addition to that, it spawns like 5, I think, different NPCs on the map that if you talk to them, they have a chance of giving you food. And again, in order to get the Majin transformation, you have to feed Majin Buu enough. And so we need a way to get like just one little extra bit of food. We wouldn't have to, aside from the fact that in this game, each item you can only have 99 of in a single stack, and you can only have 1 stack of each item. So 99 water, for instance, is as much water as we can carry, and I believe we would otherwise need 102 water. So we need a way to quickly get a different kind of food, and currently the shop doesn't have that. So now that we're in Capsule Corporation, I'm going to use the attribute points that I got from purchasing all those levels from Tosak. We're going to boost our basic attacks all the way up, and then our strike supers just as much as we can. And typically, this is where I would want to also equip that Super Soul that I purchased, but I forgot, so I'm going to do it later, you'll see. But yeah, we talked to him, and the new thing is we come talk to Vegeta, and we do his first thing. So you might think, why are you doing this? Doing an extra mission? That's not good, that takes time. 2 reasons why I'm doing this. So the first is that after you beat this first Vegeta fight, he gives you a set of clothing. It's not a ton, it's nothing like huge. It's 3 pieces that are each worth 6,500. So, you know, only 3 pieces and only 6,500, that's not a lot. But it's definitely something. In addition to that, though, this fight also gives me a TP medal for having cleared it for the first time. And so now, with the Yamcha initiation that I did, with the required parallel quest that I did, and with this fight, I now have 3 TP medals. But now we're done with this Vegeta, we'll never speak to him again. We're gonna warp back to, you know, like the proper hub world, and we're going to go now to Hercule's house. And here we're going to do something very similar. So first, because I had forgotten, I'll pop into my equipment and, you know, put on my Super Soul. Then we'll talk to this quintuplet. And then we want to pop in our vehicle, drive over here, and talk to the Great Saiyaman. And talking to them sucks. They talk a lot. There are 3 of them, and it's sporadic, and I don't like it. But this is very similar to the Vegeta fight in the sense that after you beat them, not only do you get a TP medal, which will bring us up to a total of 4, but we also get a set of clothing from them. And this set of clothing is much better than Vegeta's. It's a set of 4 pieces, and each piece is worth 19,000 zeni. And so why this is significant is between the clothing you get from the Great Saiyaman and the clothing you get from Vegeta, you have enough to purchase all of the water that you need in order to feed Majin Buu enough to unlock your transformation. We will need just a little bit of extra food, but that's the reason I talked to Majin Buu, so that the NPCs will spawn on the map, that if you talk to them, you know, they'll give you food. So you'll see me do that very soon. So now that we have the clothing from both Vegeta and the Great Saiyaman, we want to go back to the Recreation Plaza. We want to sell them, and then we want to buy a full stack of 99 water. So something you might notice here too is when I'm like counting these big things up, it's going up rather quickly. I'm holding both right on the D-pad on my controller and right on the keyboard. One of my viewers in one of the premieres actually pointed that out to me, that it was faster. And so yeah, like I said, the NPCs give you food, but you have to pay attention at what food they give you and what quantity. Because the first guy gave me chocolate, which is good, but only one. If I were to use chocolate, I would need to have at least 2 chocolate for it to work. So I ran over, talked to the other NPC that was in the area, and she gave me 3 candy. And while candy is not like it's not a very potent food, it's not very good as far as filling up Buu's meter, 3 is enough. So for this first one, we'll give him 34 water. We'll do the same for the second one. And then for the third one, we'll give him 31 water. And then I think I just jumped straight to candy because the chocolate wouldn't have been enough. So there's a 31, yep, and then the candy. So now that we've done that, we've spawned the 3 Majin Buulings, and because we're a Majin ourselves, he's like, oh, hey, do you want to learn your transformation? And we're like, yeah, we do. And so we get to start this fight. And I'll say now, this fight did not go well for me. This was definitely one of the weaker portions of this entire run. I mean, first, I hate this fight because Goten and Trunks suck so bad. They just like to knock people away when you're fighting them. Like, honestly, the beginning of this fight didn't go too poorly, but that soon changed. But anyway, you need to get Majin Buu down to the point where it says you're going to die, you know, and then you just wait for it to give you that pop-up of like, hey, you can do your transformation, and then you do that. The thing about this fight is you have to finish them off when you're in the transformation. You can technically turn it off and deal damage to people otherwise, but you need to finish them off in it. So I activate my Limit Burst because I know that way I could finish them off in one full combo, and that dash, as long as I actually hit them with all of the moves. When I say that dash, I mean Pearl Flash. But yeah, aside from just Goten and Trunks being super annoying, Majin Buu, I hate his moveset. It's just very obnoxious. Like, he has evasives that are just about wasting time. He has an ultimate attack that, like, it has a stupid long animation, and it heals him. And even if he's not using it on you, like, he's invulnerable while he's using it. So you can see he just turned me into Candy, so that's his evasive. And I just have to fly around for a minute as Candy, not being able to do anything. But yeah, even if he is turning someone else into a cookie, he's invincible during that time, and so I can't do anything about it. I just have to wait. But I think he gets me with that ultimate attack twice here. Yeah, so there it is. Yeah, so it's done. Like, you could see just how long that animation is, and then he heals up, and he does it again. I use my evasive, which is Angry Shout, which did nothing. I hate that evasive. But yeah, oh, and of course it hurts me. I didn't mention that, but it also does hurt me. You could technically die from it. Thankfully, I did not, so we were able to finally finish the transformation fight. But just between that evasive and then the 2 ultimates, it was just unfortunate. Okay, but another thing is that transformation fight also gave me a TP medal. So we got 1 from Yamcha's initiation, we got 1 from the required parallel quest, we got 1 from fighting Vegeta, 1 from fighting the Great Saiyaman, and then 1 from fighting Majin Buu just then for my transformation. That's a total of 5. And we also just got the notification that Yamcha is hosting his special class, the Turtle Stone Hunt. So if you're running this yourself, if you ever get that notification for the first time, you want to drop whatever you're doing and go talk to Yamcha to do it. If you do like another mission in between, he'll bugger off. He'll just leave. and there's no guarantee that he'll ever show up. The issue is, even if he does show up to do the Turtle Stone hunt, you also need him to throw the Turtle Stone in a good place. Basically, if he doesn't throw it on that island where you talk to him, you're not going to get the full 10 TP medals. Like, having to come down here just takes too much time, and he'll only give you 6. Or even fewer, depending on how long you take. So I got the one, like, I didn't take too terribly long, right? But if you talk to him, yeah, he says, well, it wasn't terrible. We only got 6 medals from that. So the issue is, we were supposed to get 10, and then we would have been at 15, and then we would have been totally fine with the TP medal requirement coming up later in the run. But instead, we're currently sitting on 11 medals. So at this point, you know, I had like a couple different options in the run, right? I could either end the run right here and just assume that because he didn't give me the full 10, I was not going to get a new personal best. That was one option, just end the run. I could plan to do an additional 4 missions later on in order to get the required TP medals, because again, I need 4 more at this point. Or I could just keep going and hope that Yamcha showed up for another Turtle Stone Hunt class. So I decided to do that. I decided that I would keep going for now until the TP medal requirement and see if Yamcha would show up again. Because I figured if he showed up again, like obviously it would take extra time to have to do a second Turtle Stone Hunt, but that would be less time than doing 4 extra missions for, you know, the last 4 TP medals that I needed. But the nice thing is, at this point in the run, you know, using this particular setup, all you would need is the Turtle Stone Hunt if you didn't already get it, or not or, and we already got the transformation out of the way. So from here, it's basically just doing all the story missions. You know, everything that's required, rather. The point is that we really don't have to go out of our way again at this point to do anything extra. So with that one, you don't need to fight Dodoria at all. At the start, I knocked him away just to give myself some breathing room. Zarbon becomes invincible pretty quickly, but he also doesn't, you don't have to wait for too much dialogue to pass before you can start hurting him again. So knowing where that is, you know, I activated my Super Soul, you know, to do the Limit Burst to boost my attack, just so I was ready to kill him as quickly as possible once he was vulnerable. With this fight, it really doesn't matter. I popped it just because I could. You do have to get Lord Slug down to where he's invincible, like right there, basically at the U of his name, that is. But for the most part, you're just waiting for dialogue. And again, like I kind of mentioned before, that's a huge thing in this game, is you either have to wait for enough dialogue to pass for enemies to become vulnerable again, and then you finish them off, or you have to wait for enough dialogue to pass for the scene to automatically transition. And I guess I'm specifying you have to wait for dialogue to pass rather than you have to wait for time to pass, because it actually does matter, like the audio clips that are being used. Because in this game, you have the option between English audio, like English voice acting, and Japanese voice acting. If you pick Japanese, over the course of the run, I think it costs you like an extra 2 minutes of time, just because it takes longer for them to deliver their lines in Japanese than it does in English. I had gone through and I'd like done the fights back to back, like one in English, one in Japanese, timing each one, and then I added all the times up. It's been a while, but I believe it was about 2 minutes. So now that Dodoria is dead, we can mark our split on the clear. So currently, the split says that we're at, you know, plus 7 minutes and 30 seconds, and that was coming from a minus 1 minute. So that looks bad, but you do have to keep in mind that here we did the Vegeta fight, we did the Great Saiyaman fight, we did our entire transformation, and we did the Turtle Stone Hunt. Granted, we will have to do the Turtle Stone Hunt again later in this run, which you'll see me do. But while we are at like plus 730, just keep in mind that like different things will happen. So we were automatically pulled out so that she could tell us that, like, you know, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 had sold 10 million copies, so she gives us a pair of commemorative glasses. I took advantage of her pulling us out so I could buy that ultimate attack, Super Key Explosion. And then we're gonna just go right back in and start the next mission. So I'm gonna run up to about where I can talk to Elder Kai, and then I'm gonna pause, and I'm gonna customize my stuff. So yeah, didn't mean to go there. That's what we want. We want to equip both Super Key Explosion and our Transformation. I also could have equipped battle items. I could have equipped the 2 healing items that I've gotten for free so far over the course of the run, but I just forgot to. Sometimes I do. Healing items, you know, obviously you don't need them during the run, but some fights can be scary, and it's obviously faster to take the time to equip a healing item than it is to die and have to redo a fight. If you didn't know, in this game, you own items, but you can't use them in a fight until you've equipped them as a battle item. There are 4 different slots, you know, like basically 1 for each button. You see YXBA kind of thing, at least when I'm using an Xbox One controller. And even if you have like a stack of 99 on your A slot, you can only use 1 of those items per mission. So something to keep in mind, I guess. That fight could have gone better. It really is just a matter of beat Raccoon and then beat Guldo. But Guldo can be slippery, like him in particular. So, it's okay. With this one, Jason Birder, you can hurt him a little bit, but then they become invulnerable, like, fairly early on. And so you're really not in a huge rush to get them down right at the beginning, because they're going to become invincible anyway. And then, once they're not invincible, you do have to get them down to like a sliver of health before they're invincible again, and then you have to wait for dialogue to pass and the scene to transition. But for now, I can, like, if I want to, I can just chill. The only reason I'd really keep fighting here is just to keep them busy or to build up my ki or something like that. Or, like I mentioned earlier, you know, to improve my score with Ki Blaster or Grappler, things like that. So once Elder Kai finishes his line about that Goku always swooping in, then they'll be vulnerable again, so I activate my Limit Burst to get my attack up, I transform to get the damage boost that comes from that, and then I get him down to that sliver. You can see Supreme Kai of Time jump. I don't know why I said her name weird. But she jumps in to begin her dialogue, and then we move on. Here, just kill them both as quickly as you can. Or, not them both, actually. You just have to finish one of them off. And this time you actually KO them. And that's when Goku jumps in, say, you know, wait, someone's coming this way. Then we wait. You can finish them both off, like I just proved. You can kill Jace as well. You don't have to. Once you finish one of them off and Goku starts talking, then it's just a matter of time. Yeah, with this one, as you might have noticed already, they're both vulnerable to an extent. Like, you can get them both down pretty weak, but then they're invincible. And we just need to wait for the dialogue so the scene will transition. Once the scene does transition, Ginyu will actually still be invincible, but Jace will not be. So we can switch our targeting to Jace. Just quickly finish him off. However that looks. I finished him off with a grapple because, you know, I'm cool like that. Then for this bit, like, we can really just wait. I transformed just so I could heal up because why not? I had the time. He's not focusing on me. So yeah. We need to wait until Trunks says, well, this is awkward. And then once he's done with that, Ginyu will be vulnerable. and then Ginyu will be saying, "The fabulous chase lost, how can this be?" The fight will transition as long as Ginyu's dead, as soon as his dialogue finishes there. So we finished him off, the dialogue ends, and then we move on. Now we have Ginyu in Goku's body and Turles. And this one, just beat them both as quickly as you can. I use Limit Burst, I transform, then I try to connect as quickly as possible. Whenever I have Limit Burst active, you know, I'm wanting to get the most of it, so I'm trying to fight people, you know, as quickly as I can. Or if I know that it's about to run out, I'll try to connect with, like, my bigger moves, like Pearl Flash, because that one, you know, tends to do more damage. But there we go. The two are down, the fight is over, and on the clear, we mark our split. So even though we're still in the red right now, we're still at a big, like, plus for the time. We did go from plus 730 to plus 611, so that's definitely an improvement. And what I was doing before as well was I was getting my transformation after the Frieza Saga, so technically at the beginning of the Cell Saga split. And so that's when we're really anticipating a change as far as the timer is concerned. When you're doing runs like this and you're really changing up like your approach to the run, you do have to be aware of like where your time saves are gonna come in. Because right now, like, it looks bad. You know, being at plus 6 minutes and 11 seconds, that's not great. But I know that I have, you know, the transformation to keep in mind, where again, usually that takes that's part of the Cell Saga. And so, having moved that to the Namek History split, at the very least, I need to wait until I finish the Cell Saga split to see what my time looks like at that point. So with this fight, you need to get Frieza down to about his name in health, I believe. And then he'll say, "This will be your final warning." And then you're just waiting for dialogue to pass, and then the scene will automatically transition. You can keep fighting again for the sake of score, or just to keep him busy. And actually, if he does defeat Nail, you lose this fight, and you have to redo it. Which I honestly did not know until recently, when I was really messing around, and Nail actually did die. That wasn't during a run, that was completely messing around on my own. Something separate, but yeah. So, unfortunately, that's the last that we see of Frieza for a little bit in this split. I say unfortunately because I hate this Turles Slug part, basically. Did I say basically twice? Probably. Doesn't matter, I'm cool. There's just... Okay, first I want to say that it's not fair for casual players. I don't think this part is fair for casual players. It's very long, and it doesn't matter how quickly you defeat them, because it relies so much on a ton of dialogue that really is not that important to the story to begin with. Like, there are other more crucial things that are skipped. But here, no, we just get to talk, like, we have to hear them talk about how powerful they are, and, you know, stuff like that, and it's dumb. Not to mention, like, this is the last time that we don't see them after the Frieza Saga split. So they're not that important as characters. But yeah, you can get both of them down to, you know, this little bit of health that you can see Lord Slug has right now. And then we have to wait for just so much dialogue to pass. We're waiting for Lord Slug to start saying, I feel a surge of pure dark energy. Once he finishes saying that, the two will be vulnerable. And at that point, you know, just finish the two off as quickly as possible, and then the scene will transition. And you have to fight them again. but at least it's shorter, and then you have to fight them one more time to actually finish them off. So like, if you're experienced in the game, in the run, I mean, especially in this run because you're over leveled at this point with how much we used Tosok, you know, it's not that bad. It's just obnoxious to have to wait so long. And oh, and another reason why it's unfair, especially to like casual players, is not only do you have to wait so long, where again they're invincible but you are not. When the scene transitions, you have just as much health as you were left with. So with fights, there are basically like two different ways that they work. Like when moving from one fight to the next, that is. If there is a score screen between them, then you're going to start the next fight with a clean slate. That means you're at full health, full stamina, 0 ki. But if there's not a score screen, that means that it's all part of like the same checkpoint basically. And so you're left with whatever ki you had going into the fight, and you know, along with whatever ki and whatever stamina. So the ki part is good, because that means that, you know, if I built up 5 ki and then the scene transitions, like I still have 5 ki when the next fight begins, and that means I can transform right away or use an ultimate attack right away or something like that. But you also have the same amount of health and stamina, and that's where it's dangerous. Because, you know, they have so much time to beat on you in the previous phase, and then in the next phase, they're full health, and you're still just as weak. It's, yeah. And then if you die too, you have to restart from like phase 1, and it's punishing, and I don't like it. And the game has proven that it's possible for you to be invincible when the enemy is also invincible, because that happens in one fight, which is the first phase of the final battle split against the final boss. So it's possible, the game just doesn't let you do it. But anyway, we finished Turles and Slug, that's the last we'll see of them in this run. Now we get to go back to Frieza, and this is the most interesting fight in the run, in my opinion, because you don't do anything. If you look at the objective for this fight, it says that the way to beat it is to reduce Frieza to a certain amount of health, and technically, that's accurate. But you can really only hit him like one time, and then he becomes invulnerable. Like, you can hardly get his health down at all. The real way to beat this fight and move on, like, as quickly as possible, is to let Frieza kill Vegeta. And so, the issue is that that's incredibly, like, RNG heavy, because, you know, maybe Vegeta instead beats on Frieza. Like, Vegeta just keeps getting combo after combo off on him, that kind of thing. Or maybe one of the other NPCs jumps in and fights him, or becomes the target of Frieza. Or this or that. It's just, there are a lot of different ways that the fight can last longer than it should. So finally, Vegeta's dead, and we get to move on. Now we actually want to fight him. These next few fights with Frieza tend to go by pretty quickly. So like right there, we didn't get his health down too far, and then the scene transitioned. Another nice thing is every time the scene transitions, you can use your limit burst again. So you don't have to be quite as stingy with it as I'd initially thought you would have had to be. With this particular phase, we have to get Frieza down to, you know, this point of health, and then Goku will start talking, asking Frieza if he can do a favor. At that point, you're just waiting. So here the scene will transition. We need to get him down just a little bit, and so I just immediately start my Meteor Crash and hope that it connects. Unfortunately, it did not. We wasted, you know, actually a good bit of time here, which was unfortunate, because it's right there. Like, that's all we needed to do to him. But he blocked our Meteor Crash, and then he caught us in that ultimate, so it was unfortunate, but oh well. Now we're moving on to what I think is the scariest fight in the first half of the run. Oh, sorry, after this part. This part, it's once again, you just need to quickly, you know, kill Frieza, basically. You don't quite kill him, but you get him down pretty low. But after this fight is when you go into the first fight that is, like, truly scary, in my opinion, in the run. Like I mentioned earlier, I think the Turles Slug bit is frightening and unfair, but that's mostly because of how long they're invincible, and again, the fact that, like, your health carries over, and And so it's scary in that regard. But this next one, it's a standalone fight. Like if you lose on it, you're just brought back to the beginning of that fight. So it's not punishing in that regard, but you're fighting Frieza and Cooler, and they're tough enemies. They really are. And the fact that there are two of them, even though you're fighting alongside Goku, Frieza and Cooler like very often gang up on you. And it can just be a scary experience. I mean, even with how many times I've played this game at this point, you know, and the fact that you are over-leveled at this point in the run, I've lost here, or I've almost lost here, you know, a number of times. But this is the first time that I've been able to do this fight in a new game run, using the transformation, and so I was pretty excited about that. Like, I'm not super used to it, but one of the main things I like about the transformation... Oh shoot, 2 ultimates at once. I was just like, whatever, I'll finish Frieza off and just take Cooler's ultimate. But one of the reasons I like it is you see that like kind of spin dash move where, you know, from a distance I just connect with them. That's just hitting Y, like your normal heavy attack, if you're far enough away. But yeah, it hits them, it seems to stun them for a moment. And so, Frieza and Cooler, they tend to move around a lot, they're really dodgy. And Goku, and then later when we fight Frieza and Cooler again, in like their golden and metal forms, they can be knocked away a lot. And so having that ability to like rush to them and immediately hit them, it's useful. So you can actually see, despite some other things taking more time, I did get a gold on that split. And honestly, I do not know what fight in particular got that gold. I know it wasn't any of the Turles Slug fights because those are just very dependent upon time, like you just have to wait for the dialogue to pass. Frieza took longer than usual to kill Vegeta. Not super long, but still longer than I would like. And so I think that it was mostly due to that Frieza Cooler fight at the end. But now we get to go into the Cell Saga, and again, once we finish this split, this is when we'll really know whether, you know, my new strats paid off at all. There is something else, though, that I do want to say. So, do I think that these new strats that I found, like, do I think they're useful? I do. I do think that they have their merit. However, I also want to say that my computer did seem to just load and process things more quickly this time, too. I don't know about more quickly than like my previous personal best, but I have tried a couple runs since then, and you know, I've loaded those runs and this one into my video editor, and I lined things up, you know, appropriately. I lined them up is the thing, and I timed like how quickly I got through loading screens. And remember at the beginning of this run, there's a point where you get to select like what you want the hero to be, and I picked the default male Earthling that I talked about. Well, from clicking like that last OK or whatever it is, to seeing the cutscene where like it just pans from the bottom of the statue or the hologram up to the top, between the two runs, this one like reached that statue cutscene 21 seconds faster. So, yeah, I don't know. I didn't do anything differently with my computer. I had the same amount of applications open. It just seemed to process more quickly in this run. Again, I don't know compared to my personal best, but just something to keep in mind. So yeah, Fu takes you out to talk about crystal raids, and technically you can talk to him earlier. He's available as soon as you've beaten the Frieza Saga. And so, when you're pulled out of the Time Nest for Supreme Kai of Time to tell you have permission to fly now, you could technically go down, talk to Fu, get that out of the way, and then go back up into the Time Nest. But because I would have to, like, travel down to him to talk to him, and then travel back up anyway, I don't know if it's worth triggering it early, so I just let it happen naturally this time. So like the Nappa and Turles fight early on, where if you beat them quickly enough, you get to skip a certain amount of dialogue. The same is true for this Mira fight. but I don't know the specifics yet. I haven't done that much experimentation, but Goku jumped in saying, I give up, once we got Mira down to about his name in terms of health, maybe closer to the eye, I don't know. But I think that this saves like 25-ish seconds as well. So we'll see, I think it's Supreme Kai of Time starts talking, and then it just kind of cuts her off. Let's see. Yeah, Cell and Goku are fighting, but it just cuts off like right after Cell and Goku. So that also saves some time. I only realized that somewhat recently. Again, I don't know by what point of dialogue. And honestly, maybe it's not even you have to beat him by a certain point of dialogue. It actually might just be that once you get him down to that point of health, it triggers the next bit. I'll need to do more tests on that, but yeah. This one, however, I think is determined based upon how quickly you beat, I think, 2 Cell Juniors. Like, I think you have to beat 2 Cell Juniors before Yamcha and Tien finish, you know, like, telling you how cool you are. Because here we see Android 16 immediately jumps into, I have a request for you. There was one time where I did this part more slowly than I usually do in my runs, and Gohan started talking instead. Well, actually first, I think it was Cell Juniors jumped in with like Buu and Blarg and things like that, and then Gohan started talking. But yeah, apparently, you can cut that whole bit of dialogue out. So that's interesting. I still think that this part takes way too long in terms of dialogue, but it's interesting. Oh, and here you can see I was just I forget what that move is called, but I was practicing it. You do like a step dash, but you vanish in the middle of it. I'm not good at it, especially not in transformed, like in purification form. I assume you can do it then, but I don't know. Okay, but now that this is done, we need to beat the 3 Cell Juniors. As soon as we do, it moves on. So I'm immediately going to try using Super Ki Explosion, because it has worked out in the past for me. It didn't this time. I was able to kill one of them at least. But now we need to go and fight the rest of the Cell Juniors. Here's the issue with doing it that way, with using Super Ki Explosion. It can kill the 3 Cell Juniors, or it can miss all of them. But what it seems to hit pretty consistently is Cell himself. And the issue with that is, since we hit him like right at the start of the fight, he tends to focus on us more. And that can be really bad when we're trying to fight the Cell Juniors, because if he's flying around attacking us, it makes it a lot harder for us to fly around attacking them. With this part, we just need to beat 8 metal coolers. I pop my limit burst just because, you know, it makes me stronger, so I technically don't have to use as many hits. But the big thing is really just connecting, doing enough damage with them quickly enough, yeah. So there go all 8. This is another part where, again, it's not a clean slate, so we're going over with the same health, same ki, same stamina. So because of the ki that I had saved up, you know, I specifically didn't use any super attacks or ultimate attacks there. I have enough ki here for Super Ki Explosion. So I moved closer to the group, and then I trigger it, and I killed 4 of them. So not the best I've ever done. I think the most I've gotten was like 6 in a single attack. Maybe it was 5. But either way, when we have to kill 10, you know, being able to kill 4 right away is pretty nice. So we need just 2 more, 1 more. And once again, after this, we need to kill 12 metal coolers. So I made sure I had enough ki, because I wanted to try that again. So once more, I'm going to try to move a little closer to the group, a little closer to Trunks. Of course, Trunks, you know, buggers off right away. But flying in the middle of people, activating Super Ki Explosion. I got 3 of them and weakened 1. We'll use Limit Burst. You know, first to increase our strength, but also to get that key auto recovery going. Because for the ultimate attack super key explosion that we were using, we need at least 3 bars of key, and preferably more, because the nice thing about that ultimate is that you can hold down the button to keep using key to keep the super attack going, or the ultimate attack going. So we finished one off, we got another one, we got a third, and there we go. Now the last part of the Cell Saga split is we need to defeat Cell himself. So obviously I'm trying to connect with him to do a lot of, you know, as much damage as I can early on. But I also want to save up, you know, 3 bars of key so that I can use my transformation. So I tried to use it right there. He broke my stamina, which for purification in particular, if your stamina is broken, you're just automatically brought back into your normal form. I use Limit Burst, I transform, just so my attacks are extra powerful in this form. And this is where you desperately try to connect to get as much damage in as possible while you have Limit Burst active. And it's annoying how like I couldn't hurt him at all just because he was using his ultimate, but that's fine. We got him in the end. Mark our split on the clear. And so we went from plus 5 minutes and 17 seconds to minus 16 seconds. So, again, that was getting, the big difference, like what really saved that time in the Cell Saga split was not having had to do the transformation during that split, because we did it during the Namek History split. We saw the Yamcha's class appeared again. Normally, again, you wouldn't want to do it any more than the first time, but because the first time didn't exactly work out for us, I have to go and do it again. Another sad part is the first time you do it, there's only 1 turtle stone, and honestly, I wish that you had to get more than 1 the first time, because when you have to hunt for more than 1 turtle stone, he is very lenient on how long it takes in order to give you the 10 TP medals instead of 6 or whatever. When it's just 1 turtle stone, if it's not on that island like I mentioned before, you basically are not going to get 10. But here for 4, it's like, there, I got my 4th, and now I'll bring it back. Basically, for multiple turtle stone hunts, like, I'm guaranteed to get 10. It's weird. But yeah, we got that, and unfortunately, of course, we did have to go out of our way for it. But now we can go back and just continue on with the next splits, the next story missions. Yeah, not much to say about these fights. It's really just kill them. It's either, you know, once you finish them off, they're done and you're good, or it's get them down enough and then wait for the scene to transition. Like in this case here. In this case, we need to wait for Trunks. He's Trunks, you know, he wants to save Gohan. So by golly, he's gonna do it. Kind of unfortunate when that happens, when I don't notice someone's using an ultimate and I just barrel into it. But it does happen. But either way, this fight's over. So we're brought back to the time nest, but we want to just dive right back in. Because we still have 2 other fights technically for this split.
People of Kanton City, have you been to the Hero Coliseum yet?
And of course you can see, like, we were at -16 with the Cell Saga, right? But we had to go and do a second Turtlestone hunt, so we can see that time just gradually going away. Bye, time. So yeah, Android 16's down. Now we just need to beat him one more time along with Cell. They're typically not too hard. Like, they seem to be really squishy at this point. But they can do a wicked team up if they are so inclined. And of course, your AI teammates in this game are garbage, Trunks especially. So he can be really frustrating to fight with. But yeah, that one went really quickly. So that's the last fight for that split, which is why I marked it. We're gonna be back in the time nest, and we need to talk to Elder Kai one more time, basically just to see a cutscene that kind of wraps up that story mode. But before we go into that, we want to take off our Super Soul for this next fight. Basically, straight after the cutscene here that we're gonna watch of just like future Gohan, we're going to be taken to do 2 expert mission tutorials. The first one is like with fighting a Great Ape. And you saw me fight a Great Ape, you know, earlier, like Great Ape Nappa, Great Ape Vegeta. It's a little bit different than that, but all the same, we still want our Bomb Ki Blast. Because at the end of that tutorial fight, he's gonna throw down a gigantic Ki Blast. It's like this huge meteor kind of thing. And we need to send it back at him. That'll finish him off. If you are using a Bomb Ki Blast, all you need to do is throw just, you know, a single charged Ki Blast at the gigantic Ki Blast, the meteor that he throws at you, and that'll be enough to send it back. If you are using a different Ki Blast type, like, I think we're given homing on that Super Soul I was using, it's not enough. And I haven't figured out a better way to do it with like the homing Ki Blast type, so I just take the time to unequip my Super Soul so I have my normal Bomb Ki Blast, and then I come in and do this bit as normal, basically. So for this particular part, what it's showing you is it's like, we just saw what happened when we got brainwashed, right? Mind controlled, whatever. And so now it's saying, here, punch your teammate before he gets mind controlled. But Sage of Keyblades and Lord Pixel pointed out to me that if you don't punch him, you'll just move on to the next part where it's like, alright, well now let's pretend you didn't punch him and you have to fight him instead. So we get to jump straight to the fight him instead part, and that's nice. So we finished him off, that's cool. I touched down on the ground. I don't know quite where to position. I try to go for like the center, but I'm holding B now to charge my Ki Blast. As soon as I see a target on that gigantic Ki Blast, I let go so that I throw it. And you can see that's enough to send it back. That's not the case when you're using the homing Ki Blast. And again, it just really throws me off like what I'm supposed to do. And then I always like when I can to get a group photo. Yay. What a good team. Now we get to go and do the second expert tutorial, or expert mission tutorial, where we're fighting supervillain? I don't know the official name for it, but it's just Turles, except he's stronger. And this one showcases different things. While the previous one showcased, like, you know, the Great Apes and their gigantic Ki Blasts, and then, you know, you being mind controlled. This one is more showing you like what happens when you get knocked into another dimension and you have to fight like an enemy or a group of enemies and then rush back through the portal to get into this dimension where you're fighting Turles himself. Or if you're already in this dimension, you need to go and break the like dark crystals in the area to free your teammates from the other dimensions. So yeah, we broke the crystals, and now we just get blast him. And Turles is down. So once again, let's go for a little portrait. So there we go. I like seeing his body splattered in the background, because I'm cool. So while it did obviously take some time to like unequip our Super Soul, and while we did get pretty lucky fighting, you know, that brainwashed Time Patroller and everything, we did get to save like, you know, almost 30 seconds between those two splits. You need to talk to Supreme Kai of Time just to check off, like, cool, I did the expert mission tutorials, and then we can go on back into the Time Nest and do the next story mission. So Broly can be kind of mean to fight. He typically is not too bad. But two ways that can make this fight dumb is like at the very beginning you're standing on the ground, right? This game is not good at having people stand on the ground. It locks them into just that like horizontal playing field. So like if I'm doing my combo, if I'm spamming my heavy attack or whatever, I will only aim horizontally, even if I'm targeting the person and even if they're right above me, I'll just miss. And so that's really stupid, but it's a thing. And then yeah, if he gets you in a combo, it can just be hard to get out of it because like if I vanish, he'll very often just immediately turn around and hit me. And I need to get more in the habit of when I vanish, just like immediately blocking or trying to get, you know, a just guard off, like blocking at the perfect time. But whenever I try to do that, they don't attack, and then I just waste time when I could have started a combo. So it's one of those obnoxious things. But yeah, once Majin Buu says time for you to go home, bye-bye, you've done enough damage to him, so thankfully we got him down pretty quickly there. And now we really don't have to do anything more, fighting for the sake of it, because otherwise it can be boring. So not much to say with this one either. You're just getting him down as quickly as you can. You don't quite kill him, but you get pretty close. This is another of those fights though that can be annoying just because you have, you know, all these allies. They can interrupt your combos or completely just knock Super Buu away, things like that. But usually it's not terrible. Then here we'll just have to get him down a little bit more once again. Sucks we were blasted away because we're pretty close to where we needed him. Just right there, and then the scene transitions. Now we have to fight Broly again. But at least this is the last time. So we transform, we use our Super Soul or our Limit Burst so we have our increased attack. And then we're just trying to kill him as quickly as we can so that we can move on. There, he's dead. Cool, we're good. And really, we're just waiting at this point. So why not sleep? It doesn't matter because the next fight, you start with like full health and everything anyway. But you can do it, so why not? And now we just need to kill Janemba twice. This first time, it's just us and Janemba. Well, we don't have to kill him, but you'll see pretty quickly Vegeta will join us right here. Usually, he's not too bad. The issue with Janemba is, you know, similar to Broly. If he gets you in a combo, then it can be rough. But typically, he isn't hard. So there he goes, and we mark our split on the clear. And we went from plus 11 seconds to minus 33 seconds. So thankfully, we're back to a minus. And now we just need to keep hoping that we can subtract time from here.
People of Kanton City, have you been to the Hero Coliseum yet? There you can enjoy explosive figure battles.
So here's another one of those things. Like I mentioned earlier, load times do make a difference in this game because currently, like, there's no way to check playtime in game. There's no reliable, you know, way to do that. And so currently the board rules it as RTA, which is real-time attack, as opposed to IGT or in-game time. So your load times do make a difference, which is the main reason why the board is split into PC and console, just because consoles tend to have, you know, slower load times. But different PCs obviously have different load times from each other as well. So I try to mark my 15 TP metal split like at the same point every time, basically, more or less, right? If anything, I feel like I made this split later than usual, but we still went from minus 33 to minus 34. Granted, that's only 1 second, but again, I felt like I marked the split later than usual. And so I don't know how much of this run and how quickly it went by was due to load times. It's one of those things that's just really hard to figure out because I would have to, I don't know, put it into my video editor with my previous best or something, and just line up each load time and compare the two, and that would just take forever. So it's hard to say. With this fight, though, even though we just finished it, let me talk about that really quickly. It can be pretty challenging. What you really want to do is, you know, like, it's speedrunning, right? So you want to beat Kid Buu as quickly as possible. Once you get him down to where his health is about to the beginning of his name, Hercule will start talking. At that point, you don't have to do anything else. It's just a matter of time before the scene transitions. But something to keep in mind. So even though we have that as its own split, like Kid Buu, and then we have BAB, which is Bardock and Beerus, it moves from one straight into the other. So now we're fighting Bardock, the Masked Saiyan. And then even though this split is only titled Bardock and Beerus, because I just like copied all of Hat Lord's splits, I'm pretty sure. And you know, I don't mean anything bad by it. Like, I'm fine with it. It's kind of quirky. Even though it just says Bardock and Beerus, we actually fight Mira between them. So I guess just something to keep in mind, whatever. But yeah, we want to beat him as quickly as we can, and I've beaten him faster. This was not my best Bardock by any means. So he's down, and now we get to move on to Mira. And we're moving straight on. It's not a clean slate. So we're limit bursting, we're transforming. And now we're fighting. So when they're using an ultimate like that and you have some time, you want to hit AX at the same time and then hit A again. You might just like want to mash it if you're bad with timing. And that will like send you swooping around behind them and you kick them and it breaks their stamina and cancels their ultimate. I find it difficult to do as purified form, like when I'm looking like Kid Buu. For some reason, that kind of combo, it just doesn't come as easily to me. And I don't know why, because it's pressing the same buttons, but yeah. So just explaining, like, I failed there, and I don't know why, but it seems to be harder as, you know, purified Majin. So in general, it's more powerful, or like you deal more damage in the same amount of time if you can just get combo off after combo than it is to like do a single combo and then Pearl Flash. But Pearl Flash itself is more powerful, especially if you have your Limit Burst active. And so if I think that they're particularly dodgy, or if I know that I'm about to run out of my Limit Burst, I might use Pearl Flash, but otherwise I'll try to keep connecting, you know, with my essentially infinite combo.
Good job out there.
By killing all of his companions. I hate to do this, but I have to help.
So this is not my favorite. This is not my favorite fight in the whole run. I don't. So first, I don't love the Metal Cooler fight that we did earlier, you know, during the Cell Saga split. But I kind of actually think it's fun now with Super Key Explosion, because being able to kill like 4 or 5 at once it's amusing to me. And there was a strategy that I was using for this fight that was similar to that originally. It was basically using Giant Storm, the ultimate attack, in addition to a Super Soul that when you got a kill, like just the finishing blow, your key would instantly be refilled. So, if you killed someone with Giant Storm, you just immediately have full key again. Or if you finish someone off with a hit or just anything, but you know. So that was something I was doing before, but because it takes time, you know, to run out, like there's nothing that pulls me out, or there's no reason for me to go out to get the Super Soul that refills my key at that point in the story, because that one's only available in the shop after you've beaten Kid Buu. And so before, or like at the beginning of this Golden Frieza split is the first time that Super Soul would be available to you to begin with. And actually, I don't know if it has a different limit burst either. It might not have an attack up one. So what I've been trying instead is just using, you know, the transformation. Because if you get a full combo off, then they're dead. And if you don't, like if you miss one of the attacks, you should be able to finish them off if you can land Pearl Flash at the end of it. And so it seems still to be relatively fast. It's not as easy necessarily, but yeah. One of the reasons I hate that fight, though, aside from it just being difficult and long, is it immediately moves you into this Frieza fight, which isn't super hard, but like, I think Frieza in general is just a tough enemy, or a tough race to fight. And it's dialogue dependent, so you can see like he's at a sliver of health and now he's invincible, and I just have to wait for their dialogue to end. If you die during this Frieza fight, you have to restart the entire 15 minion fight, and it's just very punishing. I know one of the first times I actually beat this game in like a speedrun attempt, I died during either this Frieza fight or the minion fight itself, like, what, 3 times, I think? And it wasted so much time in my run. And again, granted, this was when I was like really new to the game, but like that's kind of the point, like it's just punishing to people who are less experienced. Or people who just get unlucky. I have almost died to this Frieza. Like, he's broken my stamina, and then he just gets off these nasty combos that do a ton of damage, and, you know, I've been fearful before, for sure. With this particular bit, it's just you and Goku and Golden Frieza right now. You want to get Frieza down to a little bit past his, like, first full bar of health. So hopefully we can do that soon. There we go. And then Vegeta and Cooler joined the fight. But at least by this point, having had to fight Golden Frieza alone at the beginning, we were able to save up enough ki, you know, that we could start this fight with our transformation. So we transform, we pop our Limit Burst, and then we're just trying to punish Metal Cooler or Frieza, you know, either way, just as much as we can as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, I noticed just too late that he was using his ultimate. And while I did try to do a charged heavy attack to break it, you saw that obviously didn't work out. It didn't consider it a charged heavy attack, it just considered it me, like, I think inputting another heavy attack late. So whatever. Metal Cooler's down. We're looking for Frieza now. I'm just gonna target him as soon as we can. Okay, cool. So, those two are down, and now we just get to skip through a bunch of cutscenes, and then fight them in the same location, and it's them in the same forms, one more time. I think this next time, you know, they're all evil and powered by Mira. I mean, they're evil already, but they're powered by Towa. Not Mira, by Towa. And so I guess they're technically harder, but I think it's basically just a repeat fight. One of the differences between this fight and the last one is that we don't have enough ki at the beginning to use our transformation, but now we do. So I use Limit Burst, pop my transformation, and then, you know, hoping to get the most out of it. So blast him down, use Pearl Flash, and that finishes him off. And of course, he's using his ultimate again, so wasn't quite fast enough to break it. And we're out of our Limit Burst. You saw I tried to get one more Pearl Flash in really quickly, but I missed. I mean, either I missed, or they were in one of their, like, I'm in an invulnerable pose right after a, you know, they're like iframes kind of thing. It's basically that. And there we go. So on clear, we get a mark our split. And, like, I don't know what happened. I don't know why we went from -36 to -124. Because my whole thing with this run, again, the main thing I changed was what fights I used to get my TP medals and how early I got the transformation. But how early I got the transformation should have affected the Frieza Saga split much more than the Golden Frieza Saga split, you know? Or Golden Frieza split, whatever. Like, by this point, I would have expected everything to kind of even out, you know? Like, I expected the big difference to be at the Cell Saga split and the Frieza Saga split, and then it would be normal. But no. So this is where I'm wondering, like, is it really just load times? Did I really get so lucky for some reason that my laptop was processing the game so much faster that we were able to save basically a minute between those two splits? I mean, there are a good, you know, chunk of cutscenes, and so load times do factor in. Or did I happen to just do well enough in those fights? Like, did I kill the minions quickly? Did I kill Metal Cooler and Golden Frieza really quickly? I don't know. And that's one of the things that makes running this hard when it's judged by RTA and not, you know, IGT. Which, again, real-time attack and in-game time. So with this fight, you start off with Beerus being on your team, but because he needs to go and wash off the marker that Whis drew on him, now he's gone. But before he leaves, if you have Whis down low enough, Whis will actually become invulnerable. So I waited to use my Limit Burst until Beerus was actually gone, and then we finished off Whis really quickly. Like that I know was actually a good Whis fight, for me at least.
Good job out there. So you show yourself at last, Towa.
I knew you would. I've been waiting for you. Simply tracing our steps would eventually lead you to it.
So, how many times have we fought? This time there will be no ignorance. This time we will end this.
Yes, we will.
Strong. Stronger than ever. And that's one of Majin Buu's offspring, isn't it?
Yay! He's dead. So now we just need to kill the hero. Again, this is the hero that we picked at the beginning of this run. Towa is also on the hero's team, but Towa doesn't matter. And it's much better if you can just have Towa occupy Trunks. Like, first, if you kill Towa, the fight will just continue on. The fight only ends once the hero is defeated. And so, it's just a waste of time to target her. But on top of that, if you target her, then she'll target you, which means that, you know, it's much harder to fight the hero. And that was like one of the fastest I've ever beaten the hero. But yeah, mark the split on the clear. And so I went from, you know, first minus 36 to minus 124, minus 128 to minus 205. So these have all been pretty fast. But I think we'll see another instance here where I'm just like, yeah, the load times must be faster too. Because like the TP metal split, I also make the transformation split at about the same time. You know, I try to be consistent with it. And so it's like once I'm loading into the next fight. So there, I mark it again as I'm loading into the next fight, and somehow I saved 4 seconds? I don't know about that. But we're moving into the penultimate battle, basically. We have a single Towa fight here, and then we'll move on to the final battle split, which you're fighting just one person, but he has 3 phases. So first, Towa. She is not difficult. What she is obnoxious. She has at least one evasive and like, I think it's a super? At least one super that's really annoying. This ultimate is totally fine. She can do that. All it does is heals her. But really what it does is it lets us break her stamina and get a full combo off on her. And right there, the fight's over. And so I love when she uses that ultimate at the beginning. But otherwise, she has an evasive where she teleports away and is invisible for a little bit, which we saw Whis use. She has a super, I think. It might be an evasive. It's probably an evasive now that I think about it. But she like traps you in a little magical bubble and you just can't do anything for a second. Or, you know, a few seconds. And then she just has these like twirly dumb combos that she can get you in that again, like they're not super threatening. At least if, you know, you're not inexperienced, which fine if you are. But it's just dumb. So that ultimate that he used is good for us. Normally he knocks us away, like he starts with that big uppercut, and then we just fly back and he throws this big key ball at us and it hurts. But as long as you have enough stamina to use your evasive, it's really easy to just then like get behind him and break his stamina real quickly and then take him out. With this particular phase, it doesn't matter as much because the thing is you just need to get him down to that sliver of health and then he's invulnerable. And once you get his health down to like about his name, I think, you're actually invulnerable too. This is the only fight where that's the case. So, you know, I transform, I knock him away, I use quick sleep just so I'm full health, full stamina, full ki, because these three phases are all one after the other. There's no score in between them, there's no clean slate, so the more health you have, the better. The more ki you have, the better, etc. Really, this first phase is about waiting for Towa to finish talking, because she talks for so long, and I wish that we had a way to skip it, or to speed it up or something. If someone could find a way to actually skip dialogue, like the required dialogue, in this run, I think that would be just the biggest time save, you know? Like the biggest single time save. But no such luck yet. With this second phase, I would also hope that he would use an ultimate, or specifically the ultimate where I can break his stamina, but that's fine. We just kill him as quickly as we can. And we move on to the last phase of this fight, which is fighting against Furry Mira. And I'm sure you can see why I call him that. We're not going to quite get him down to KO health, just because final boss, it needs to have like an epic cutscene at the end kind of thing. But as soon as we get him down to, I think just below like that final parenthesis in his name, then we mark our split. Granted, he still has like a few health bars to go. But what we're hoping is that he doesn't use one of two ultimates. Or sorry, no, like 2 of 4 ultimates. There are 2 ultimates we don't want him to use. There's one where he's like covered in a dark energy ball and he shoots out other energy balls. And if they hit you, I think they hurt you and they break your stamina as well. And it's just a pain. And then there's another one where he kind of just becomes invisible, like he disappears from the map. And he sends out these like razor bits of energy. But right there, we did it. We mark our split. 136.58. That was a fast fight. He didn't use a single ultimate. I've gotten incredibly unlucky in the past where he uses like 5 in a row, but we were good there. So anyway, yeah. That was this run. So again, like you can see, I did make pretty big changes early on where like I got almost all of the TP medals except the Yamcha Turtlestone hunt, because you just have to wait and hope that that shows up at some point in the run before the TP medal requirement. But I got all of the other TP medals out of the way before even going into Namek History. I got my race-specific transformation before going into Namek History. I triggered like basically all the cutscenes early if I could, aside from the, you know, commemorative glasses one and the crystal raids one that Fu tells you about, because I use those for other means, or I just don't think that it's beneficial to get them out of the way, like it's more trouble than it's worth kind of thing. But yeah, there we go. I think a lot of this was due to load times because just for some reason it seemed like computer wanted to behave better. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this. Thank you guys for watching. If you did watch up to this point, of course, I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. You can find the leaderboards there if you're interested in watching other runs or trying a run yourself. But yeah, with that, have a good one, everybody.